At our family reunion, my parents compared me to my perfect brother. He laughed and called me a lonely, pathetic loser, so I stood up and revealed all the secrets he'd been hiding for years, then left. 2 days later, he called, apologized, and begged for help. I grew up hearing the same comparison in many forms. At the dinner table, at holidays, in the car after school, my parents praised Ethan and then held me next to him like a chart. The details changed, the message did not. At Thanksgiving last year, the pattern was clear again. My mother, Elaine, opened the door with a bright smile and a comment about Ethan's latest win. My father, Robert, nodded and added a detail about Ethan staying late to mentor new hires. When I mentioned a video campaign my team completed, my mother said, "That's nice," and turned back to Ethan's schedule. They have a way of turning any topic into a scoreboard. For my birthday, I got a kind but backhanded note. "You're unique, Nora. Keep trying new things." When it was Ethan's birthday, the message on Facebook was a paragraph about his leadership and drive. Under photos, my mother writes, "Proud of our future executive." Under mine, she writes, "Cute. I am not a failure. I pay my bills, I have good clients, and I mentor younger designers. But in our house, my work rarely counts as achievement. It is described as creative or fun. Ethan's work is called serious and strategic." In September, I started therapy with a counselor named Tasha. We talked about the pressure of these comparisons and how they made me shrink during conversations. Tasha asked me to try something simple. Speak clearly when a comparison starts, and leave if it continues. She told me to warn my parents first, so the change would not be a surprise. So I called my mother. I told her I would not sit through another holiday where I was compared to Ethan. I said that if they tried to put me down to raise him up, I would tell the truth about things I knew. My mother asked what I meant by the truth. I said I will not repeat your version if it leaves out important facts. She told me not to create drama. I told her I wanted respect. I did not plan a scene. I planned a boundary. If they kept the comparison going, I would not stay quiet. Act 2, the trigger. A few weeks later, my parents organized our family reunion. It was my grandfather's memorial and a reunion in one. They wanted speeches. They wanted a slideshow. They also wanted, as my mother said on the phone, a moment to spotlight Ethan's progress. She used that phrase 3 times. When I arrived, the printed program listed a section called Beacon Examples. Ethan's name filled the bullet points. Promotion pending, mentors new hires, completing advanced degree, strong partnership with Maya. There was no mention of anyone else. My stomach tightened. I looked for my mother. She was greeting guests and directing seating. Ethan and Maya entered halfway through the gathering. He wore a navy blazer and looked like an ad for himself. Maya kept close to him but did not hold his hand. She looked tired, not in a casual way, but in a way you notice when you know someone. We made eye contact. She gave me a small nod and then looked down. The memorial part was calm and respectful. After the last photo of my grandfather faded from the screen, my mother stepped up with the microphone and began the spotlight. She thanked everyone for coming, praised family history, and then steered toward Ethan. She told the room that Ethan was up for a promotion. She said he had been mentoring and helping new hires become their best. She said his graduate program was on schedule. She called Maya an example of grace. She asked the younger cousins to take notes. While she spoke, I remembered my warning. I did not want to make the memorial about me or Ethan. I also knew they would keep doing this unless someone stopped the pattern. I looked at my father. He was smiling with pride. I looked at my aunts. They were nodding along. I looked at Maya. She stared at her hands. My mother turned toward me and said, "Nora, do you want to say a few words about what you're learning from your brother's example?" Before I could answer, Ethan laughed, loud and careless. "You're a lonely, pathetic loser," he said, voice carrying across the room. "Don't do this." I stood up. My hands were steady. My voice was clear. "I can either support the image you are presenting, or I can tell the truth. Which do you want?" The room went quiet. My mother's smile faded. "Nora," she said through her teeth, "sit down." "I warned you," I said. "If you compare me to Ethan again and use him to set a standard, I will correct the record." I kept my focus. "I'm going to share 3 facts," I said. "They will be specific. I have documentation. I do not want to do this, but I will not stand in a room where my life is used as a negative example and his is edited to look perfect." Act 3, the confrontation. I started with the smallest item. First, I said Ethan offered to help me polish my resume for a job application earlier this year. I appreciated the offer. He sent back a version that looked similar, but some key pieces were missing. A campaign I led and the live portfolio link. I held up a printed email. He accidentally forwarded me a message to a colleague where he wrote that he toned down my experience so I would be less competitive. The email header shows it came from his company address. I have both versions of the document. The metadata matches. Ethan said, "It was a joke. You can't read tone." "I asked you about it," I said. "You told me I was paranoid. That is not a joke. That is sabotage and then gaslighting. I moved to the next item. Second, I said, Ethan has been unfaithful to Maya. I have permission from Maya to state this. I held up a simple list. These are hotel bookings from the last 4 months. The dates match the nights he told Maya he had overtime. The bookings used his loyalty account. The room service orders show 2 meals. I also have screenshots of messages between Ethan and a coworker that line up with these stays. The language is clear. I will not read the messages aloud, but I can confirm the timestamps and the sequence. Maya spoke up without raising her voice. I gave Nora the screenshots, she said. We are not broken up. We are trying to reconcile. We are not a model couple. Please do not use us to teach anyone how to live. There was a low murmur in the room. Some people looked at their hands. Some looked at the floor. My mother's jaw was tight. My father's face had gone rigid. I went to the third item. Third, I said, there is no promotion pending. Ethan has been suspended from work for 3 months, while HR investigates an employee complaint and problems with expense reports. I have emails that confirm this. They were shared with me by someone at the company who wants the truth to be known to the family, not to the public. I will not share the person's name. The emails include a notice of suspension and a request for receipts for meals that were listed as mentoring. They also show that his building access has been disabled during the suspension. My father said, you cannot have those, that's illegal. I did not break into anything, I said. They were sent to me by a person with access. I am not sharing them beyond this room. I looked at my mother. You have been telling people Ethan is finishing his advanced degree. He is not enrolled. The photo he posted of a diploma frame was a mirrored image. The watermark reveals that. I checked with the registrar. There is no record of him in the current cohort. The room stayed silent for one long beat and then broke into scattered reactions. A chair scraped, a fork fell, someone whispered a prayer out of habit. My mother said, stop, not here. Her voice shook. My father slammed his hand on the table. Not at this event. I agree this is not easy, I said, but it is honest. I am not doing this to shame anyone. I warned you I would correct the record if you kept using me as a negative example and Ethan as a poster. I am done with that role. I turned to the room. I will not respond to any more comparisons. If anyone uses me to elevate Ethan, I will limit contact with that person. Do not text me to argue. Do not call me to persuade. This is not a debate. I set down the papers, pushed in my chair, and walked out. No shouting, no extra words. Act 4. How I knew and how I prepared. The scene at the reunion was the result of weeks of careful checking. I did not wake up and decide to start a fire. I started by verifying small doubts and moved only when I had clear facts. After last Thanksgiving, when my mother introduced a youth pastor she wanted to set me up with and then told me I should learn discipline from Ethan, I went home and sat with my friend Jenna. We made tea. I told her about the resume incident and my uneasy feeling that it was not a misunderstanding. She asked me to forward the email. She checked the headers and confirmed the path. Ethan's work address, forwarded from his phone, to a colleague. She compared the 2 resume files. She found the exact changes. She highlighted them so I could see what had been cut. I printed both and filed them in a folder labeled Resume, Original versus Edited. 2 weeks later, Maya texted me, can we talk? We met at a quiet cafe. She looked straight at me and said, he's cheating. She said she had logged into the shared hotel loyalty account and found the late-night bookings. She had already told Ethan she knew. He called it a lapse and said he was clearing his head. She asked if I would be willing to hold that information in case she needed support with my parents. I said yes. She gave me screenshots of the bookings and the messages. She asked me not to spread them. I promised I wouldn't. Around the same time, Tom, a guy the first knew from school who now worked in IT at Ethan's company, sent me a DM. Is Ethan okay? He asked. I said I didn't know. He said he's been out for a while. He did not say more at first. Later, after we promised we would not post anything, he sent redacted screenshots, an HR email that included Ethan's name in the to-line, a suspension notice, and a reminder about missing receipts. He explained that the company disables building access and VPN access during suspension. He also sent a log that showed Ethan's account had not connected to the network since August. I asked Tom why he was involving himself. He said, because your mother keeps talking like he's about to be promoted, and people repeat it like it's true. It's not my business, but it affects you. And I hate the tone she uses about you when she calls me for advice about young creative types. He had heard some of her comments secondhand through a community group. It embarrassed him. He wanted me to have the facts. I did my own checks. I called the registrar at the program my parents said Ethan was in. I asked a general question. Is Ethan Park enrolled in the fall cohort? The registrar said no. I called 2 more times on different days and got the same answer. I looked at the diploma photo Ethan had posted online. I noticed that the logo was flipped and there were letters going the wrong way under the glass. I asked a friend who works in printing to look. She confirmed it was a mirrored stock image. There was one more piece I had not shared at the reunion because it belonged to me and because it proved a pattern. A year earlier, someone in our family had gotten into a small accident with my old car. The insurance claim ended up using my name and my policy. My rate went up. At the time, my parents told me it was the price of helping family and that Ethan couldn't afford another point on his record. I paid the higher premium for 6 months. I have a saved voicemail of my parents asking me to keep it quiet. I told myself I would not use it unless someone insisted that I was inventing the story of covering for Ethan. It was a last resort receipt. I kept it as a reminder of how our household worked. Before the reunion, I warned my parents. I asked them not to turn the event into a celebration of Ethan's edited story. I asked them to keep the focus on my grandfather. They did not. They printed a program with Ethan's bullet points. They set up a microphone. They wrote a script. They invited me to add my own words of admiration. So when I spoke up, it was not impulsive. It was the end of a straightforward process. Notice, verify, document, warn, and then follow through. Act 5. Aftermath and choice. I left the reunion with my friend Jenna. She had been standing near the back. Outside, she asked if I was okay. I said yes and no. I was calm and tired at the same time. We went to my apartment. We sat on the couch. We wrote down what happened while it was fresh. The next morning, my phone had many messages. From Maya, thank you. I gave you permission because I needed someone besides me to say it out loud. I am not asking you to drag him. I just want the room to stop using us as a lesson. From my cousin Jamie, I'm sorry I have stayed quiet too long. I believed the script because it was easier. From my Aunt Naomi, you did not imagine the way they treat you. I saw it. I should have said something. From my parents, 4 voicemails and an email. The voicemails said I had embarrassed the family, that I had made a spectacle, that I should apologize. The email had a subject line, conditions for moving forward. It asked me to make a public apology at the next dinner, to agree not to spread rumors about Ethan's job, and to support the wedding without hesitation. I called my parents back because I wanted to hear the words directly. My mother answered with a clipped hello. My father stayed on speaker. You humiliated your brother, my mother said. You humiliated us. I told the truth, I said. You used private information as a weapon, my father said. That is not love. I warned you, I said. I asked you to stop using me as a negative example and to stop pretending about Ethan. You kept going. My mother paused. Then she said, we already knew about the suspension. I was quiet for a moment. How long have you known? Since the beginning, my father said. We did not want to make it worse by spreading it. You kept telling everyone he had a promotion coming, I said. We wanted to keep morale up, my mother said. We helped him with rent and a few bills while he sorted it out. We saw no reason to embarrass him. Did you also know about the cheating? I asked. We hoped it would pass, my mother said. We told him to focus. We told Maya to be patient. So you knew the truth and still used him as an example in front of the family, I said. We needed to show something positive, my father said. I took a breath. I will not apologize for telling the truth. I am sorry for the timing anytime it made extra pain during the memorial. I will not apologize for setting a boundary. You owe us, my mother said. We raised you. You raised 2 children, I said. You praised one and used the other to make a point. I am not accepting that anymore. My mother said, then we are done for now. She ended the call. I cried after the call, not because I regretted speaking, but because hearing the confirmation that they had known and continued the public story was heavy. It explains so many smaller events. The gentle lies, the request to stay quiet, the way they changed subjects when I asked questions about Ethan. I went low contact. That meant I did not block them everywhere, but I moved their messages to a separate folder and answered only when I had the energy. I told my therapist. Tasha said this was a valid step. She reminded me that boundaries are for me, not for controlling anyone else. I cannot make my parents admit fault. I can choose how I respond when they try to pull me back into the old pattern. 2 days later, Ethan called me. He apologized, plainly, and begged for help. He said he didn't know how to fix what he'd done and needed me to meet him. We set a time to talk in person. We met in a public park. He looked tired. The performance was gone. He said he had never thought I would speak in front of everyone. He said he felt cornered. He said he had lied because he did not know how to admit failure to our parents. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, I said. You hurt me with the resume. You hurt Maya. You lied to mom and dad. I will not carry that for you. From Maya, thank you. I gave you permission because I needed someone besides me to say it out loud. I am not asking you to drag him. I just want the room to stop using us as a lesson. From my cousin Jamie, I'm sorry I have stayed quiet too long. I believed the script because it was easier. From my Aunt Naomi, you did not imagine the way they treat you. I saw it. I should have said something. From my parents, 4 voicemails and an email. The voicemail said I had embarrassed the family, that I had made a spectacle, that I should apologize. The email had a subject line, "Conditions for moving forward." It asked me to make a public apology at the next dinner, to agree not to spread rumors about Ethan's job, and to support the wedding without hesitation. I called my parents back because I wanted to hear the words directly. My mother answered with a clipped hello. My father stayed on speaker. "You humiliated your brother," my mother said. "You humiliated us." "I told the truth," I said. "You used private information as a weapon," my father said. "That is not love." "I warned you," I said. "I asked you to stop using me as a negative example and to stop pretending about Ethan. You kept going." My mother paused. Then she said, "We already knew about the suspension." I was quiet for a moment. "How long have you known?" "Since the beginning," my father said. "We did not want to make it worse by spreading it." "You kept telling everyone he had a promotion coming," I said. "We wanted to keep morale up," my mother said. "We helped him with rent and a few bills while he sorted it out. We saw no reason to embarrass him." "Did you also know about the cheating?" I asked. There are still awkward moments. Family habits do not vanish after one confrontation. At a cousin's birthday, an uncle started to say, "See how Ethan," and then stopped himself. He looked at me and changed the subject. That small shift mattered to me. I am not trying to punish anyone. I am trying to live in a family where facts are allowed, and where my life is not a negative example used to make someone else look better. I am choosing the quiet work of changing my own responses. I will leave when comparisons start. I will state my boundary one time per conversation. I will not repeat my warning again and again. If people do not respect it, I will not stay in that room. People ask if I regret the timing. I understand the concern. A memorial is a sensitive event. I wish my parents had not put a spotlight segment with Ethan into that program. If they had not pressed the pattern, I would not have spoken there. I do regret the pain it added to a day that was meant to honor my grandfather. I do not regret telling the truth and setting a line. What I learned is simple. A family story that demands silence from one child to protect the other is not a healthy story. A boundary is not a punishment. It is a clear line that says, "I will not participate in your script if it hurts me." That is not dramatic. That is basic self-respect. I do not know yet where things will land. I am open to a calmer relationship with my parents if they can talk to me without turning me into a contrast for Ethan. I will not return to the old role. Low contact is working for now. If they keep pushing comparisons, I will step back further. If they learn to talk to me like a person and not a prop, we can eat dinner together. As for Ethan, I am watching his actions. So far, he has done some hard steps. He told the truth at work. He stopped the graduate school lie. He paused the wedding plans. And he apologized to me. I do not have to pretend nothing happened. I can see his efforts and also remember the past. Both can be true. The message I want to send to anyone who hears this is direct. You can choose not to play the role in a family script that harms you. You can state your line and keep it. You can walk out of a room where your life is being used as a lesson against you. You can also be open to new terms if the people around you change. The goal is not to win. The goal is to live without leaving yourself behind. That night after the reunion, I slept deeply. In the morning, I made coffee and answered a few messages. I watched the sun move across my floor. It was an ordinary day, and for once, that was enough.